There we go.
Where's beauty mode for me?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Be My Guest with me, Mary Honan, on Lyra Media TV, supporting the Samaritans, Limerick and Tipperary. And my guests today are Déirdre Penk-O'Donnell and Paddy O'Donnell, or Patrick O'Donnell, all the way from Canada. Hello, the two of you.
Hello, Mary. Good morning.
Good morning from Canada. How are you?
I'm grand. Well, Paddy, you've come all the way from, you might as well say Ireland, England, and Canada. You're like our international member here.
Yeah, I'm more of a gypsy-like member, Mary, than it is anything else. Every time social services caught up, we moved on. So, yeah, it sounded glamorous the first way you said it.
Canada. I've got this wonderful, glamorous image of Canada. Every time I look at Canadian Mounties, I think, oh God, it must be absolutely fabulous. It's just
Mary, I think looking at Canadian Mounties, Mary, is a bad indication to judge the rest of Canada. We don't all look like those Mounties, trust me.
I remember
Mounties or Mounties?
Yeah, I remember dancing in France a few years in a row at the Semaine Mondiale, and it was for Bunratty, and one of the stands was the Canadian stand, and the Mountie, his name was Jean-Louis Bigot, and he was about 6'5", and we thought he was a statue, and we were looking at him, and next he moved, and we all screamed. But he was fabulous in this. We became really good friends, but he was fabulous in this red and black outfit, and I thought, God, all Canadians must look like that.
Yeah, I was going to wear the red serge this morning, Mary, but Deirdre said it would be a little over the top for this early.
Tell me about yourselves. Feel free to jump in whenever you like. Paddy, you had a very interesting journey through life. You won the World Irish Dancing Championships. Where did you start dancing? We start with Deirdre first, seeing as she's the lady.
Well, my life is nowhere near as interesting as Paddy's, so it's probably good that you start with me, because then he'll end up being very interesting. I started dancing really when I could walk, because my mum emigrated from Belfast to Canada, and dancing was a way for her to still feel her Irish roots and to still find other Irish people. I think she was desperately lonely when she first came to Canada. So when I was born, I danced. I mean, and my mum used to teach in the basement. She had a little Cayley group in the basement of our house. So I would sneak down the stairs to watch them dancing and, get shooed back up to bed. But eventually they started teaching me, and I took to it like a duck to water and danced my entire life. I'm still involved in dancing as a teacher and as an adjudicator, and dancing has definitely been the one constant throughout my life. And
you married a dancer, so do you find that that's actually, for both of you, do you find that actually helps when you're, because it can be an isolating, I can imagine, life for somebody who's not into dancing in any way, if they're constantly at home and their partner is constantly at a feis or whatever, but both of you are into dancing, so it should make it easier.
Well, it does, because especially with real estate, because we both do real estate, and real estate is the same thing, because Paddy still works 80-hour weeks selling houses. So it's great, because it's usually me that is on my way home from dancing class, and then I drag him out of the office and we go home, and then, we eat our dinner at 10 o'clock at night, and then we do the same thing again the next morning. So. God,
that's late to be eating. That's like the time I eat.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. You're up dead late.
Yeah. I'm a night owl. I've always worked better at night when there's total silence and no hope of anyone interrupting you. I think it's the only child in me. I like the silence
I like the TV. The TV is very good.
I always have the TV on. because I like music and I like things, you know, but I can, maybe it's the dancing as well. You can zone things out when you want to. You can
Yeah.
zone noise out. But Paddy, your journey to dancing.
Unlike Deirdre's, where she had somebody that support, you know, wanted to keep in touch with her Irish roots, we just wanted to find something where I could get in for free. And the dancing teacher offered free dancing lessons. And I thought, I can give that a whirl.
I like the sound of that.
Yeah, I had the attention span of a gnat. I'd feign my asthma attack if it got too hard.
Basically, I was just with your eye as well, hadn't you?
Yeah, and astigmatism. I could only go one way in a circle.
No, with my left leg. The last day.
Yeah, with my leg, one left leg pinned to the floor. I could give a welly on the right leg. It was excellent. And all poor old Christine Anglis kept saying was, oh, he's got potential. That's code for sweet Jesus. Where did he come from? And he's not paying me. So yeah, it was fine. It worked out well. And
did she let you in for nothing?
Well, not initially. Initially, I was supposed to be paying, but then I gave her the old sob story of, oh, we're really poor and we have no parents and blah, 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 blah. And she said, okay, fine, keep the money. And then we went to the chip shop. It was excellent. Yeah, it was fine.
Your parents died when you were very young?
They did, yeah. My mum died when I was 11 and my dad died when I was 17.
And you took over the whole family?
Yeah, I had 2 younger sisters and a younger brother. And, you know what the Irish community is like. We were, even though we had no parents, you were answerable to every neighbor in the neighborhood. You were answerable to the Irish dancing community. So we didn't have parents in the conventional manner, but we had lots of guardians looking out and making sure that things went well.
They say it takes a village to rear a child.
It does, yeah, absolutely. And it's a shame that's missing in today's society more so. Yeah. You know, if you could give these kids a whip around the ear and not get taken to prison for it, the whole place would be better.
But it's true. It is so true. I mean, I don't think children know. They've never understood. The children nowadays don't understand loss. They don't understand failure like we understood failure. I mean, you'd be lucky if maybe 3 people got a medal at a fete.
Yeah.
What do you think, Deirdre?
I totally agree. I do think, I mean, I don't know if it's different in Ireland than it is here, but I do find a lot of children here are raised with an absolute, I mean, it's just very different than the way I was raised. I mean, they seem to be raised with this absolute belief that they are exceptional. And
but I was exceptional.
We know that, Paddy. I mean,
and you still are.
Exception oozes from you.
Actually, I used to be described as special. I never knew what that meant. I always thought it was a compliment. But then I heard somebody say, no, it means you have a wee want.
There's a slight want in you.
Yeah, exactly.
Here in Ireland, there's a slight want in him.
Yeah, exactly. Go on, carry on.
Well, yeah, so back to the exceptional thing where and I don't know, maybe because I was raised by Irish parents, well, Irish and English parents. So it just maybe is a different way that people are raised, where kids now seem to really believe that they shouldn't maybe necessarily have to work as hard.
They're entitled.
Yeah. So, and I'm sure it's not all of them, you know, you can't really make a blanket statement like that, but it's definitely some of them. And they must have been like that when we were children too, but because maybe we were being raised differently, we just didn't see it. Yeah. I don't know.
I think children before, if you were afraid, if you did something wrong and you were punished in school, you knew if you went home and told your parents that you were punished in school, that you'd be punished even more when you went home. Yeah. Now, or if you went to a competition and you didn't win, you were told, I don't want to see you getting upset, and I want you to, you know, that discipline of going up and being gracious in defeat. I think that's one good thing that Irish dancing does, is it teaches children to be gracious in defeat as well as in victory. But
There's no pun intended there. Is the Mary gracious in defeat?
Indie turnout?
Indie turnout of defeat. I thought you were trying to
Turning
speak.
out defeat.
I thought you were trying to speak French and you just weren't getting it. Yeah.
No, turning out defeat. Yeah, no. But what do you think of this, you know, the way it's going now with the dancing, medals for every child in a competition, like the beginners and the I don't know what it's like in America. Does every child get a medal?
No, we don't do that. I mean, at my fesh, because my school runs a fesh every year, we would give a child, we have the first fesh category where, you know, in different age groups, it's their first time up. They would do the beginner reel, maybe a beginner light jig as well. So everybody in the first fesh reel would get a medal. Okay. And we would give them like a participation medal. Yeah. But after that, no, we give a lot of awards. I mean, we would probably give 40%.
Yeah.
I mean, if anything.
Here in Ireland, it's kind of the beginners, all the beginners competitions, and the two scrod, which would be the next grade up, get a medal.
Mind you saying that, I mean,
that's good. I think it's good for encouraging children.
Yeah, because I've got to say, I just did a virtual Ring of Kerry thing where you had to, you logged in how much you ran every day. And once you'd made it, the 200 miles around the Ring of Kerry, I still don't have the medal, but apparently they're sending me a medal. And I've got to say,
I can't believe she fell for that. I mean, seriously, there's some bloke in a caravan somewhere in Kerry, copping money from all these Canadians saying, oh, she did the virtual Ring of Kerry.
But it was really good. I've got to be honest, I mean, it was very motivating. And I cannot wait to get my medal.
Kind of like Irish people selling water.
Yes.
Selling rain. I don't understand how the Irish haven't actually bottled the rain and sold it.
I thought they had. Deirdre's bought 4 bottles of it. I thought they had.
Yeah, it's coming with my medal for doing the Ring of Kerry.
Canadians are so gullible. Oh, I'm doing the Ring of Kerry. It's just so enthralling.
But honestly, if you go back to it, I mean, it really is, that, and I do tell my dancers this all the time, for the ones especially, you've got so many of these dancers that have worked their way up to, for instance, the open level, which is the highest level you can go to. Yeah. A lot of them, the accomplishment of going to open is going to be the height of their career as a dancer. Yeah. But it is such an accomplishment, really, to get that. And I do tell them this all the time, that there are only going to be a certain number that will win or that will place, but it's just like going in a marathon. I mean, the fact that you are in the category that you're able to be in is a massive accomplishment. And I don't know that it is a bad thing just to give them all a medal for that. I mean, if you do a marathon, you might scrape through in like 9 hours, but they still hand you a medal, and they should hand you 2 if you kept running for 7 hours. You know what I mean? So.
Especially if it's the Ring of Kerry marathon.
And especially with my astigmatism, I'd have done it 10 times and I wouldn't know I was finished. But I think that's the...
You only danced in one direction, didn't you?
Of course, yeah. Well, when you have a lazy eye, Mary, there's no choice. And whenever I would be lining up to go on stage, I would always have to be on the left. It didn't matter that my number was out of rotation. I used to say it was for medical reasons. I have to be on the left. And then they'd announce, we have competitor now number 73, and oh, he's moved again. Oh no, now he's on the left. No, now he's moved to the right. Could number 73 please just stand still for 3 minutes? And I think that the thing that Deirdre was saying about everybody getting a medal and getting the accomplishment of going to open, I never did get that accomplishment of going to open. And another fella you should be interviewing is Stephen Masterson, because he never made it to open either. And the two of us couldn't get out of non-prize winners. And I said to Stephen, we may as well get nothing in open as get nothing in non-prize winners. It's so much better to say I got nothing, but I was in open. So I said to Stephen one day at one fesh, come on, we're out of non-prize winners. We're up to open, because we never could win our way out. So, I mean.
And yet you won a world championships going all one way.
It was full of charity, Mary. Honest to God, they thought, Jesus, we have to give this to him. He's nearly 30. If we don't get rid of him now, there's going to be a coronary on the stage.
I was looking at the date on it, 1988, and I was thinking, probably about 28 at the time.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
For dancing that long. I danced until I was 33, 7 nights a week in Bunratty.
Wow.
I think it was 23 when I stopped competing.
And Mary,
I
were you
thought
at
that
club?
was, I was saying, well done me for going until I was 23. And I think we give up too easily in competition, I think now, too early. But I was working out, you were about 28 when you were
28,
the
yeah.
world.
29 that July.
Run around in a circle.
Yep. Yep, whatever it takes. That's why I say to people, you never give up, because the rest of them will all fall by the wayside, and eventually it'll work.
Oh, that's sweet. I think that's no, but
Yeah, Christine, the dancing teacher, didn't think it was sweet. She thought it was forever.
Oh.
Tell me though about your journey to America, and working on an Indian reservation.
Well, in order for me to get into Canada, I had to do something that a Canadian couldn't do in a place he didn't want to do it. So there was a lady already living in Canada in Fort McMurray called Mrs. Mullen. Margaret Mullen was from Coventry originally, and she danced in Coventry and then emigrated to Canada and taught in Fort McMurray. She arranged for me to emigrate to take over her class when she was moving to a different part of Canada. But when we went to Canadian Services or Canadian Immigration, the visa was only for myself, because that's just the way a visa works. And the only people you can take on your visa is your wife and your children. Well, I had my two sisters and my brother. So in order for that to be facilitated, I had to arrange to adopt them. So legally they're my children, so I could get them on my visa. And then we didn't have enough money to get here. So we sold all the furniture in the rental house, because you know what it's like at home. I mean, when you give over a house, you barely give them the light bulbs. So the carpets came out, the kitchen cupboards came out, the gas fire came out, the wallpaper came off the walls, like the Artex was scraped off the ceiling, like everything was given up. And that allowed us to get standby flights to Seattle. And then we hitchhiked from Seattle into Canada. And that was an episode in itself, because
I always remember that story. It's actually one of the stories that has resonated so much with me since the first day I interviewed you many years ago. It's just stayed in my head. I thought, Jesus help us. You were only about 17.
Yeah.
How did you get emancipated enough to take over those children's lives, you know, and adopt them?
I had some medication for the emancipation. It took away the pain. It was excellent. Oh no! Oh, emancipation. Sorry, I confused that with some other kind of disease that you recommended. It's very similar to Galloping Tick-Tyroo, but I didn't know how to fix it. So anyway, yeah, my emancipation. I sound like Emily Pankhurst. Kids are stupid. Kids are stupid. They don't know any better. We don't know consequences. We haven't lived long enough to value much. We have nothing to lose, and that's the way kids should be. So it was an adventure. And honestly, if it didn't work out, so it didn't work out. We have nothing to lose.
Great credit due to the social services at the time as well, to actually recognize your ability and your determination to take on your sisters and brothers as your own children. Yeah. Deirdre, you must be profoundly proud of him.
Oh yeah, I mean,
that's not what she said last night at dinner, let me tell you.
No, I absolutely am. I mean, I had heard of Paddy, you know, even as a dancer coming from Vancouver, you know, Western Canada, and going to the world. And I mean, in those days, you know, for kids now, I mean, they all know everybody, whether they've ever been to a world, because they've got social media and they're, you know, constantly bombarded with these, you know, what's going on in the world of Irish dancing. But then we didn't know. I mean, it was a very weird thing to be heading from Vancouver over to a world championships, and you know, you're immersed in this brand new culture.
Yeah.
But even with only going to a world, I went every second year as a child because we just couldn't afford to go all the time. But I still heard about this guy, you know, this 17-year-old child really, who was raising these 3 kids. And yeah, I mean, it was, I
And in
heard
those
about
days,
him before
17 was a child. You know.
Yeah, I think it still is, Mary. I mean,
It is,
they might
but,
dress
you know,
a
I
bit more
think
permanent,
children are more mature now, and they go to college, and they go, you know, I think growing up in England or growing up in Ireland as a 17-year-old, you tend to be mollycoddled. You didn't have that mollycoddling, Paddy, because you were on your own very young, you know. But yeah, it's just enormous. How did you meet Deirdre?
well, I remember because Paddy's a little bit older than me. He's 5 years older than me. So he had I think he got second at the world that year. And I decided I was just going to go congratulate him. And so when I congratulated him, he said, "Thank you, me darling." And I thought that meant he really liked me. I didn't realize that he called everybody me darling. But then we just got to, you know, just with dancing, you know, I was very passionate about dancing. It was, you know, I just was drawn to people who were also very passionate and, you know, worked hard at it and were disciplined. And so we became friends, I guess, first. And then when Paddy emigrated to Canada, of course, it's not like we were close to each other because Vancouver to Fort McMurray is still really quite a distance, but we would see each other at, you know, local feshna more often than when he was in England.
They were called feshes back then.
Yes, but I'm trying to use the proper word.
I mean, honest to God, now they're called
No, we
fesh.
still call them. Do you know my godmother, or I call her my godmother? She was my mother's bridesmaid getting married, and because we lived in England, she thought we'd loads of money and we could bring her over to stand with me, but she didn't. And I keep on calling her my godmother, and she keeps saying I'm not, but I should have been. But she always says to me, the word is feshina. And I keep saying, I know, but we say feshes.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm trying to do it properly now because, you know, we're in Ireland for this and people will know.
Mary, how many photos do you have behind you? Where the hell did you get all those photos from?
I spent about 2 hours trawling through and editing them and cropping them and making them try to look nice. There's there's 7 green screens. I'm trying to get through them.
They're brilliant because they're all Irish dancing photos.
That's right. I started off with you and your family, and then moved into and then later ones will be your classes and your dancers.
Mary,
really nice.
Mary, you know there's a restraining order in your future, don't you? You can't be trolling internet sites like that, Mary.
I'm a restraining order waiting to happen. I mean, I'm surprised. Actually, not Shane Cummins. I'm trying to think who said to me the other day, Mary Honan, I should have blocked you before I came on here because I had a photograph of him sitting on the toilet when he was. He had it up on his own Facebook page when he was only 3, and he said that was the first day at class because he hated dancing when he first went, and yeah.
And he brought the toilet with.
And he said, "Jesus, I can't believe I'm on the internet on the toilet. I should have blocked you," he said, before I came on here. But yeah, I went through it. Yeah, there's some great photos of you.
Yeah, I mean, it's like looking at your life, isn't it? I mean, there's, you know, other judges when you're at feshes, and yes, at feshes. My dancers all grown up in a lot of these photos at weddings and things. Yeah, it really is a full life circle when you are involved in Irish dancing.
And your whole life is involved in Irish dancing, not just, I suppose, you can't switch off because you work at Irish dancing. You're both Irish dancers, so you know that your whole life is utterly consumed with Irish dancing. I would imagine that, and selling houses. And
it is. Yeah.
Is it difficult? It must be a very rewarding business, property sales. And Paddy, I mean, both of you have great personalities, but I'd imagine Paddy would sell sand to an Arab.
I did that last night, Mary. He picked up his bag of sand at the front door, and the rest of them are coming now to pick up that Irish water later on today.
I just can't understand why Irish rain hasn't been sold.
Oh, I'm sure it has somewhere, Mary. Trust me. Yeah, it has.
Or even Irish soil.
Yeah. You're onto something, Mary. Get out. Start digging.
What have we got? Those we've got loads of things carved out of bog up the stairs. So yeah, it's pretty much the same as dirt, Irish dirt.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
I mean, I would imagine that you could actually take a piece of Irish soil and you could frame it put it into a 3D frame and silicone it.
Good.
So that you have it framed on your wall. That's Irish sod.
Well, the other thing that's very popular over here is Ode to Irish Grandmother. It's a bottle of perfume that smells like your old grandmother from Patrick's Well. And it's lovely. It sells very well at the high-end stores. And you spray it and it has a hint of mothballs and stale, I don't know, Hessian sacking that you used to wear as your long skirt. Yeah, it's lovely. It's got a nice smell.
Your people are from Patrick's Well, aren't they?
Well, I feel like having a wee chat to these people if they're listening. Yeah, they're from Cricora and from Patrick's Well and totally unable to pick up a bloody telephone or pen an email. We have things now called electronic emails. And I mean, they work really well and they're quite easy. But yeah, Cricora and Patrick's Well.
That's only about I suppose about 10 minutes by car from me.
Yeah. Yeah, so the Lynch is in Patrick's Well and the Conways in Cricora.
They must be incredibly proud of you. I mean, your brothers and sisters are stroke children. Must be very close. You must be very close knit family as a consequence of all of this.
Yeah, absolutely. The cousins in Patrick's Well and Cricora Cross. I think because there's so many of them. You know, I mean, from families of 8 and 10 and God knows what else. I mean, yeah, you get lost in the mix. So yeah, I don't think most of the cousins, if you don't mix heavily with each other as children and keep that relationship up, you lose that over a period of time. So yeah, I haven't seen them for quite a while.
How is COVID affecting you?
Oh, it's really good. Yeah, it's great. It's a great time over here altogether. You don't have to wash your face anymore. You don't have to wash your hair. You put on a hat and a mask and a pair of glasses, and nobody has a clue who you are. Works really well. It's doing fine.
Honestly, though, I mean, it's very different. I mean, it's really changed the world, hasn't it? I mean, I find that the protocols that are in place now, I think people are quite used to them. You very rarely see somebody in a building, inside a grocery store, anything like that, without wearing their mask. Most people, I'd say 95% of people wear their mask inside. Social distancing, I mean, we're all used to that now. It's just, unfortunately, the numbers are rising again. So I think it's that lower population that, you know, that younger age group that just maybe doesn't want to play by the rules. Are
you coping with the Zoom? Do you do any of the classes via Zoom?
I did. So COVID hit us right in St. Patrick's Day weekend, which is a massive, massive weekend. Even though we are in Vancouver, for my dancers, they look forward to St. Patrick's Day weekend all year. We had something like 65 or 70 shows booked. We ended up doing, I want to say 4 of them, and Friday the 13th, everything stopped and the kids were devastated. So literally Monday the 16th, I did my first Zoom class and we did those for 4 months. Once the weather got good enough, we started doing outdoor classes, but they were hit and miss because it was either too hot or it was raining. So a lot of them had to be canceled. But luckily now, touch wood, we went back into class last Tuesday. But as I said, you know, I've lost one of my halls. I've lost a lot of dancers. Zoom was really difficult to keep little ones engaged. Really, really difficult. And I've lost you know, in hindsight, I probably wouldn't have even tried to keep them going. If I knew then what I knew now, I should have just left them, and then hopefully they would have come back once we went inside. But I have lost a lot of dancers. So, and now the protocols, you know.
So it's so sad, but I think it's all unnecessary, because when you look at the amounts of people who are allowed into ballet classes here in Ireland now, for instance, I think it's something like 50 are allowed into a ballet class, but only 5 in pods are allowed into an Irish dancing class.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's crazy. Yeah, they're not doing that here as far as separating different styles of dance.
It's just insanity. And that 5, if there's an extra staff member inside in the hall that you're renting, maybe a security guard, I think the number drops. So that becomes 4, and eventually 3 and 2. And it's because the insurance has us down as being a sport, when in actual fact we're a cultural and artistic organization, really. And we should be down as the arts. And by virtue of the fact that we're Irish dancers, we're supposed to be keep your distance anyway. Do you know? And I don't tell me how was the how was the Indian reservation? I'm afraid, even as I'm asking this, I'm actually saying to myself, why?
Yeah. Living in Fort McMurray was, you know, it was a very unique experience. There were parts of it that you would never experience anywhere else in the world, like the Northern Lights, snow in August.
Minus 72 degrees.
It was freezing. The winters were long. Yeah, the winters were long. But it was a place, it was an opportunity.
Minus 72 degrees.
With the wind chill.
Yeah, so when we got married, Paddy was living in Fort McMurray. So I happily obviously had no idea what I was moving to, and thought this was going to be great fun moving up to Fort McMurray. And it is, honestly, I remember, because back in those days, do you remember you had your clock radio, and you would set it at, you know, whatever time, and you'd wake up to the news. And I remember one morning waking up, and the first words I heard that morning were, "Good morning, it's minus 72 degrees." So it was minus, I think, 45. But then when you factored in the wind chill, it was minus 72 degrees. And we got up, and it's just so funny because here in Vancouver, we're like Ireland. I mean, we do not get snow here. If we even get a few flakes coming down, school is shut, dancing is shut. You can't get milk because everybody has made a run to the grocery store to grab all the milk. It'll only be there for 2 days and it's gone again. But in Fort McMurray, we lived with 3 feet of snow. We had a good month of minus 40 degrees Celsius or colder, and not one snow day for kids. Those kids went to school every single solitary day. We went to work. We showed houses in it. We traipsed around yards, like, you know, back gardens in 3 feet of snow and minus 45, minus.
But were you selling houses even then?
Yeah. Oh yeah, and this one wore high heels for the whole time.
Yeah, I did.
I mean, God forbid she'd lower the bar on the fashion statement. It doesn't matter that it's minus 45 and she's about to die of exposure.
Mock-a-lucks are not a nice look, Mary.
No, but I'll tell you, my friend in Bunratty, she was the singer there, Annette Alsfed, Annette Stapleton, but her husband was from Finland, and he went back to Finland. Now, Gus, when he was growing up there, he used to ski to school every day, and it was so cold, and the snow was that height off the ground, and Annette went out. She opened the door. Their houses are really hot. She opened the door and went down to get the post in the post box, and a neighbor ran out to her with a coat because she'd have died by the time she got back to the door. She didn't realize how cold it was because the houses were so warm, but she would have died of exposure within the 2 minutes that she would have died.
Yeah.
Wow.
You know?
I love all these photos you're putting up. Oh,
Yeah, there's some great photos.
Irish dancing makes for a very, very nice career. It really does. I mean, I wouldn't say it was my career. For me, it is what I
Your
add
hobby.
to my life. Yeah, it's more a hobby, passion for me. But I mean, for people who, oh yeah, look at these memories. Yeah, just lovely.
I'll do a slideshow at the end as well of all these photos. So
Oh, they're just lovely.
they'll just go by. But Paddy, do you think that it was the best decision you ever made to move to Canada? I'd imagine you do.
It was the only decision I could have made. You know, it's interesting. People make it sound like I had so many options when I was living in Coventry, that I could have been a neurosurgeon or I could have been this. I would have been a cleaner at best. So yeah, moving to Canada was the only option. It was a no-brainer. And I think anybody in my position presented with that opportunity probably would have taken that opportunity as well. We were very lucky. Margaret Mullen made that happen. And we were just in the right place at the right time. I'm so glad that we were fortunate enough to be there. So it worked out well.
Things happen for a reason.
Yeah.
And but you know, you can't get away from the fact that, you know, I mean, a book should be written. I'm not making light of this, Paddy, and I know you're going to start. I can see it coming. I can just see it coming. But a book should be written about your life, because
it already has, Mary. The book Angela's Ashes. Remember that book?
No, Angela's Ashes.
His book came out, and he saw the glass half empty every day in Limerick, and I saw it half full. It was just a slightly different version of that book. I mean, there were so many similarities. His parents went to Coventry. His dad went to London. My parents went to London. He emigrated to the States. We emigrated to Canada. The book is the same. And that's the thing that most people don't realize. While my story may be unique in today's setting, it absolutely wasn't unique back then. Many, many families lost parents at a very young age. Cancer was rife, still is, but it took many, many mums and dads and left children on their own. Yeah, it was no different. It was very similar. In fact, my cousins in Patrick's Well, they had 8 kids in their family, and their parents died when they were all young, and the oldest kids had to step in and look after 7 other kids. Thank God my dad stopped breeding after 4. Every cloud, Mary, every cloud. I think Bridget's final words were, "Get off me, Paddy." So it worked well.
I mean, you know, Paddy does he puts a lovely spin on everything. But when you look back, I mean, his mum, God love her, I mean, she was pregnant because his mum and dad were both diagnosed with cancer at the same time. And his mum was pregnant with Mary, who's the youngest of the family. When she was diagnosed, I mean, she knew that she would never see her children grow up. I just can't even imagine what that would have been like for them. And they didn't know who would go first. They knew the doctors knew they would both, you know, die, that there was no surviving this, but they really didn't know who would go first. And, you know, his mum, when she passed away, Paddy was only, what were you, 9 or 7?
11.
11. And Mary, the baby, was only 2. So, you know, like it's horrible when you think about it. And I do agree, though. I mean, I read the book Angela's Ashes as well, and it is shocking, the similarities, except it seems to be the way they looked at their circumstances. And I mean, obviously, I do not know Frank McCord, but it does seem to be that humor. I mean, Paddy's sense of humor and the way he looks at the world, nothing's ever too big a deal. Every problem is solvable, and it is what I love about him. I mean, everything can be laughed away. Everything is not a big deal. Nothing's ever so big a deal that it should ruin your day, kind of thing. And yeah, I just think he's remarkable. What he did raising those kids, I think he's incredible.
Now, make sure you keep that in the edited version.
Everything is going to be kept, Paddy, but you know what? I know this is like a Paddy admiration society, but it is. You know, I mean, it is. an extraordinary feat for a 17-year-old then to have taken on a 2-year-old and upwards as their own, and to adopt them at 17. You know, it just beggars belief that anyone would just. We'd all do it. We would like to think that we'd all do it. Not everyone would, though.
Yeah.
There's a lot of very selfish people in the world who would, or a lot of people who just, it just wouldn't be what they'd be able to cope
Yeah,
with.
they wouldn't be capable. They just wouldn't have that gumption and that absolute
humanity.
belief. Yeah.
But don't forget, Mary, also when you don't have parents, nobody tells you that you can't do something. The number one thing that parents tend to do is try to protect their children. So it's no, don't do that, you'll hurt yourself. No, don't do that, it's not going to end well. No, don't do that because that's not what you. So you hear don't, can't, shouldn't, wouldn't. Nobody ever told us that. We believed we could do anything. And so we did. And I'm not saying that everybody
I'm just
should.
thinking of the whole lot of you, like little
Tinkers.
godlings getting on a flight and going all the way over to 72 degrees below zero.
Well, but you know, it's like Lord of the Flies.
Yeah.
I mean, it really was very, very different. And don't forget that when you left your home in the 80s and when Deirdre's parents left home in the 50s, you honestly believed you would never see them again. I mean, when we left on the bus in Pool Meadow, Coventry, and said goodbye to the gathering crowd of 3, we honestly believed we would never, ever see those people again. There was no reason for us to believe that we would ever have enough money to come back because we knew the amount of money that it took to go. So there was a belief that we wouldn't come back. My Irish dancing was over and done with, that the friendships that we had were over, and yes, you could write letters, but yeah, the realization of what we had done didn't hit till then.
Do you find that having met Deirdre and having known Deirdre through the dancing and all of you knowing each other, that continuation helped you to, it was like as if you were moving, you weren't moving countries as such. You were just moving countries, but you were still holding on to everything that you had known, the Irish, through Irish dancing, that helped you to bridge that gap.
A little bit, but the big thing with Irish dancing in Canada at that time, it just didn't compare to what we had in England. In England, you had a feis every weekend if you wanted one. You had classes 2 and 3 times a week. And in Canada, you had what, 3 feishes a year?
Yeah, I grew up dancing with 3 feishes a year, and one of those would be the Oireachtas. So there was one feis in Vancouver that my mum and 2 of my aunts ran, and that happened every June. And then we'd go to Edmonton, which is an hour-and-a-half flight. So we would go to a second feis there, and then there would be the Oireachtas in the fall that would move around. So we would generally have to fly to that. And that was it. That was all we had, you know, as far as going to the competition. So the culture of Irish dancing was very, very different here. Because luckily I got to dance in England for 2 years. And oh my God, I loved it. I loved the culture. I loved getting to go to a feis every weekend and everybody coming together. And it was in a hall, like all our feishes in London were in Whitechapel, and the pub would be in the back. And, you know, all the dads were in there. Like dads never came to feishes here. So all the dads were in there, and they were, you know, there was a TV and they were normally watching a game. And oh my God, it was so different than going to a feis in Canada that was generally in a school hall, and it would last for a day and it was over.
And the only reason that I stayed in dancing after I left England was because Deirdre just kept saying, oh, you should come back, you should come back, you should go to this feis, you should come down to this. And then when Deirdre moved to England, I had a blow-by-blow account of what was going on in England, but I would never, ever have gone back to dance at the World in 1988. I mean, I had left England in 1982,
Were you married at that stage when you won the world?
No. We didn't get married until 1991, May the 4th at 3:00. See how quick I was with how I knew exactly. She said to me,
so romantic.
Yeah, she said to me before the interview, "You sure as Jesus better remember when we were married, what time, how long we've been married." So I feel like I fulfilled the interview, Mary. Thank you for asking. But no, we didn't get married until 1991.
Yeah.
1991. Yeah, but you were what? How did you? I know you, Deirdre, said that you thought when he said, "How are you, my love, me darling," and you thought instantly he liked you. But how did you actually start dating?
Really, it was when I was living in England and Paddy came over then in 1988. He came over for 6 months.
Yeah.
And so while he was there for 6 months, I mean, I know everybody in England thinks it's a long way from Coventry to London, but we had been living in Canada. I mean, Paddy had been living in Canada then, I was Canadian. So driving, 4 and 5 hours was not a big deal to us. That is just what you kind of do here. So he would drive down from Coventry, for the day, and we would go spend the day together. And I would come home from work. I shared a flat with 3 other people in London, and we would all arrive home from work and Paddy would be in the kitchen boiling our tea towels in bleach because he didn't think our kitchen was clean enough. So he was constantly back and forth. So really for those 6 months, those 6 months are what solidified our relationship.
Oh, is he a housefrau?
Oh,
very good housefrau.
She lived with a bunch of tinkers, the filthiest place.
It was not. It was brilliant.
She invited me down and she said, "The key's under the mat, let yourself in." I thought I'd gone into Calcutta somewhere. It was awful. And then she said, "Go upstairs to the top floor." I went upstairs to the top floor and there was a bloody shower in the kitchen.
There was.
How do you mean there was a shower in the kitchen?
We were living in an old house. It was brilliant.
It wasn't brilliant. It was awful.
Oh my God, I loved living in London. So we were living in a house that had been converted into flats. And of course, when a house is, originally a house, there isn't a toilet and a shower on every floor so that, the day comes when it gets converted to a flat and everything works out. So when it got converted into flats, the top floor, of course, was a narrower part of the house. And it did get converted into a living lounge area. There were 2 bedrooms and then the kitchen, but we didn't have our own toilet area or shower area. Actually, that's a lie. We did have a little toilet and a separate room, but we didn't have a shower. So there was no room to put a shower. So they put it in the kitchen. So whenever you wanted to have a shower, you just had to make sure nobody came in the kitchen.
Yeah, but nobody gave me that memo. So I'm in there making myself toast and a cup of tea, and out steps this lard ass of a fella, bare ass naked, in the middle of me having my Weetabix and my cup of tea. And it's like, mother of Jesus, where did that come from?
There were 4 of us in the flat. Oh. So there was Russ and Mandy, who were this gorgeous couple from Australia. And then me and who eventually became such a close friend of mine, Jane, who was a nurse from Australia.
It was hell.
It was
and
brilliant.
The lardars.
And the larder off.
That would be Russ.
I think he was visiting for the night. I didn't see him again.
That's not true, it was Russ.
But yeah, it was good. Good times.
Oh, it's pain in my face.
Put on beauty mode, you'll be fine.
But come here to me. Now that you're in COVID, Paddy, it must be blissful for you because all you'd have to do is come down in a pair of shorts and a shirt.
What do you think I'm wearing now? There's no shorts or shirt, let me tell you. This is all a mirage.
No, we're still working.
We're still working.
Yeah, real estate was deemed right from the very start as an essential service because, of course, people need a roof over their head. People need shelter. And, of course, when this hit, it all hit so suddenly. So there were a lot of, real estate transactions that were kind of halfway done. So people might have sold their house with a possession date that was a month down the road, but they hadn't found anywhere to live yet. So real estate kind of kept ticking along at the beginning, but at the beginning it was very slow. People thought this wasn't going to last very long. It was, it'll be a couple of weeks, we'll do what has to be done now. But then within a month, it all went back to normal. I mean, our real estate market here is crazy right now. Absolutely crazy. There are multiple offers happening on properties. Prices did not drop at all. If anything, prices are rising still.
Really?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It's extremely busy, which is very good. Another reason to knock wood.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's good. It's fine. And also because we were deemed an essential service right from the get-go, and because Deirdre was so quick doing the Zoom classes with, you know, the dancers, we got on board with this whole Zoom thing. Who the hell's the fella in the beard?
That Jesus is, okay, Murphy. So that's Rebecca. So I will tell you that photo you've got behind you now, Rebecca and Jessica Bell. And yeah, they both have a dance school now as well with their parents, Merv Bell and Paddy B. McDonald. She's Paddy B. Bell now, but they have a beautiful dance school in Edmonton. Yeah, it's funny. I just talked to Beck yesterday and we were on the phone for ages.
Yeah, isn't that coincidental? But yeah. What do you think the world will happen?
Oh, I mean, I'd like to be the optimistic side of me. Really wants the world to happen. I mean, the world getting cancelled this year was devastating for all of us. And, you know, as a teacher, you tend to focus, you know, on your dancers and, you know, and that is what I did. We put so much work in, like everybody did around the world. And yeah, for it to be cancelled was such a horribly sad thing. And here in, you know, Canada and in North America in general, we kind of, you know, instantly switched our dancers' attention to, okay, North American Championships. North American Championships, that's where we're going to look to next. You know, we're just going to stay, we're going to keep working, we'll make this one happen. And of course, then that was cancelled. And now we're dealing with all of our regional Oireachtas are cancelled. And right now, well, technically right now they're postponed. I really hope the World Championships happen. You know, the culture of Irish dancing is that we want to come together and we want to see our friends and get on a stage, and whether or not we're going to win, we just want to do those performances. And for those dancers who were like us, I mean, we were so passionate about what we did. And so the amount of work we put in and how good we were and how good these dancers are today, and they just want that chance to be.
And nothing, and Zoom and nothing like that, no matter how good it is, it doesn't compensate for actually physically seeing people and having a laugh and just being around people of like-minded souls. You mightn't always agree, or you mightn't even know half the people, but you know that everybody there has the one interest in that Irish dancing, and it's just very hard. Question, Paddy, do you think that there should be open platforms to build up? I mean, Niall O'Leary brought up that question about the open platform and allowing people from different organizations to compete against each other, and allowing adjudicators from different organizations to judge, just say, for instance, at a commission fesh or vice versa.
I see your lips moving, Mary, and I know you've asked a question, but I don't have a clue what you're talking about. When you said open platforms, I'm thinking back to 1977 and my flares and my high platforms. I'm thinking, yeah, I like platforms. I think they're nice. They make you look taller. They make your legs look longer. Yeah, I'm good with them. I think they're really good. I think that's a great question, Mary. What's your next one, love? No, really. I mean, do I think open platforms should happen? I mean, what? What does that even mean? Deirdre, you answer that. Deirdre. I'm going to make a cup of tea. Like, really?
You know what, Mary? There are arguments there's so many arguments for pros and cons of this topic. I mean, the number of times...
There are a whole load of people debating this worldwide. Do you know what they're debating at our office? They don't now. They'd rather fart than sneeze now with COVID. That's what they're debating at our office. Go on, sorry to interrupt. Carry on.
Yeah, so my personal feelings, I would love for there not to be, you know, this organization and this organization and this organization. I would absolutely loved that the whole world, you know, just got along and we all drank a Coke and sang Kumbaya.
She's like Miss America, isn't she? I just want world peace. Yeah, whatever.
But the chances of that happening, I just don't see everybody
World
getting
peace.
Yeah, I agree with her. That's what I would have said, Mary, about open platforms.
Yeah, people just, they don't get along.
What an open platform means. It just means that there's no such thing as commission and COGOL and CRN and WIDA and all that, and that everyone can dance in competition together. The idea would be that the competitions would get bigger and bigger and bigger. I mean, the world would be just so enormous, though.
Because, Mary, that's what we need, bigger and bigger competitions. I mean, do you not lose the will to live when they say, and in this competition, there are 220 dancers? Yeah, no, Mary. We don't need bigger and bigger and bigger.
All doing St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah, can you imagine? Yeah, no. Yeah, it's different. Very, very different.
Look, you've been absolutely fabulous. Is there anything you'd like to say to any of your family?
Yeah, you should. Okay, so Catherine and Mary, where at Catherine and Mary? They're in Kokora Cross.
No, they're in Limerick City now.
Oh, they're in Limerick City.
Yeah.
They are the loveliest people. Thomas is lovely, and I would really love to give a big hello hug, virtual hug to the Nolan family. Rose and Tony and all the grandchildren and kids, and especially Cathal. So Tony and Rose Nolan's grandson, Cathal Frawley, I don't know if you know the family, but Cathal actually came.
I don't know Cathal, but I mean, of course, Tony was my teacher, Tony, and I went.
Of course, yeah. So you know them all.
Yeah,
well, Cathal actually came to Canada.
But I know Dara and Kia.
Okay, so Cahill's Neve's son, and he came to Canada for, it was originally going to be...
Has Neve's son, has Neve got...
Are we out of time? I feel like I'm at the Grammys.
Michael Collins's funeral came on there on the other computer.
Mary, you have Michael Collins's funeral on your computer?
I haven't. It just appeared out of nowhere over there on the other computer. Just Michael Collins, 1920 footage of the Mayor of Cork, Terence McSweeney, and Michael Collins was at it, I'd imagine. But it looked like Michael Collins' funeral anyway, but it just appeared out of nowhere there. But yeah, I do know the Nolan. I can't believe Niamh has a son that old.
Yeah, he came out to Vancouver. He lived with us for 3 months and then lived on his own. I think he was here just about a year. So yeah, got to know him very well. And of course the O'Rourke's.
Yeah.
Love the O'Rourke's. So yeah, big hello and hugs from us to all of them.
And you, Paddy, we'll give you the last word.
Yeah, just,
I know you're shy, and I know you find it very hard to think of something to say.
I do. I normally hide behind Deirdre like this.
Very shy.
Yeah, just hello to everybody in Limerick. And Mary, you're living in Limerick, is that correct?
Yes. Our station is a Limerick station. Well, it's an international. We're focused internationally, but it's Limerick based.
So, Mary, will this interview be on CNN or anything like that?
Well, I'll send it to you and you can forward it to CNN.
Good. So you're like Limerick's answer to Oprah right now, aren't you?
Jesus, I'll tell you, I've been described as Limerick's Irish dancing's answer to Graham Norton, to Gay Byrne, and to Michael Parkinson. And I said, I must really look like a man. And now Oprah, and I'm not sure what's after happening there.
Well, that's where the Black Irish comes in, Mary. You'll be fine. You'll be fine.
I must have gained a few stone as well.
No. No, we were too quick to jump in and say no. The camera adds pounds, Mary. I'm just not sure how many cameras you have on you, pet. But no, you haven't gained weight at all. You're still, you could be a ballet dancer, for Christ's sake.
I've lost over nearly 2 stone, and now you're telling me I have 2 cameras on me.
You look good.
Anyway, listen, thank you both for giving me your time today. This was hilarious.
You're most welcome.
Thank you, Mary. It was a lot of fun. It was lovely talking to you.
I did not know what was going to come out of from Paddy's mouth at any stage.
That's how it works, Mary.
But I'll tell you, Deirdre, life must never be dull.
No, I can absolutely. And the number of people who say that to me, they're always saying, is he really like this? Is he like this at home? And yes, this is what he's really like. Life is never dull. There's always a laugh. I'm very lucky.
She is.
But he's luckier.
She says to me so many times, I love you so much. I'm the luckiest woman in the world. And I go, you're right. You absolutely are.
I'll always agree with you.
Yeah. That's it, Mary. See, that's what I tell her.
Happiness is always agreeing with your wife. Especially
there you go.
When she's saying the right thing.
There you go, exactly. Mary, it was lovely talking to you.
Thank you, Mary.
God bless, and thank you so much. I'll have this edited and put it up, and you can send it to CNN.
Oh, brilliant. You're so lovely. Thanks so much.
Have a good day.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye. Have a great day, Mary.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.